Hello, my friend. I am so glad you joined me for this midweek episode on creating weekend rhythms that actually restore you. I am so glad, especially because I know that if you do not have weekend rhythms that actually restore you, you will not be ready for your next week. And then by the time we get to your 9 to 5 or your 5 to 9, wherever you're at in your daily rhythms, you're just not going to have that pep in your step that you need to really thrive and to do the work that you were created to do. So it's not about just rest, it's not about just work, it's about balancing and knowing when is time for each. So I'm really excited. Of course, this being a fun episode and me being an Enneagram 7, here for it all with you. But I also need and love my work rhythms and honestly cannot see myself ever retiring kind of a person. So trust me when I say you need your work too. So don't forget to listen to Monday's episode as we talked about a bit about our work, but also about our after work rhythms. And now, as a quick reminder, don't forget to create meaningful work in your week too, or none of these weekend rhythms will hit well. It will just be like falling flat, like all I do is relax anyway. So what does it matter? And today we're talking about restoring, which means you actually allowed yourself to deplete. You allowed yourself to have some of your synergy given to others. You noticed that your cup was emptying out, metaphorically speaking. And now you're at this place of actually needing to be restored, to have stores given back to you. So, how can you do that? Well, that's going to look a little different for everybody. And that's why I titled the episode The Weekend Rhythms That Actually Restore You, because I don't want you looking to the right or to the left. I want you to think about yourself as we walk through these. So, of course, if you have a few tips for family and friends, share them. I love when you share the pod, but definitely make sure that you are here for you. And just so you know, we are going to talk about groundbreaking evidence for why this is important. We're going to talk about what you can do. All that's great in this short episode. But before we do that, we have a very exciting announcement that the Enneagram Intensive for relationships is coming back. So we had that time together last spring. It was glorious, and I so enjoyed that time with you. But some of you are in the space where you once again need some time for your relationship. So I am so excited to share it with you. And we have learned through the last semester that working together one on one with couples is the best way to do the intensive. And first, before we get into our weekend rhythms, I have a couple who walked through the intensive with such joy and asked me if they could actually do a commercial for you on this. That's how much they loved it. I am so grateful. I don't usually bring clients on, and they're not clients in that sense of ongoing work. This was a client couple who stepped in for a short period of time to do an intensive with me, and they just want to share the most generous review. And I just honestly had to say yes because I was like, you are so sweet to do this. And thank you to Ken and Kathleen as they share a little bit about their journey through the Enneagram Relationship Intensive. And before we talk about the weekend rhythms, if you want to sign up for that, that is also in the show notes. This is just for a limited time. So let's hear what Ken and Kathleen have to say about their time in the intensive. Thank you so much, Ken and Kathleen, for being here. This has been such a gift to have you guys suggest sharing about the intensive. It meant the world to me, shocked me, and I am so happy to share with others. I have asked you to prepare 3 questions to tell others a little more about the Enneagram Relationship Intensive vicariously as they hear about you. And if you wouldn't mind, first just sharing why you guys did the intensive.
Well, I wanted to participate in the marriage intensive to work on improving my communication skills to help my marriage and to increase my understanding of my Enneagram number, which is an 8, as well as my husband's Enneagram number, which is a 9.
And I wanted to learn how to communicate more effectively with my wife. As an Enneagram 9, I like to keep the peace. I realized that this was not working well in my marriage. The marriage intensive gave me a framework to help work on improving communication, which helped me to communicate better with my wife.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear this. This is beautiful that you guys felt like these improvements. And I love that you shared your pairing. We love your 8-9 pairing. Many listeners out there have your pairing. Share a little bit about what you ended up loving about it. Now that we know why you did it, what did you love about the intensive?
Well, I liked meeting with you each week, going over homework assignments, improving my understanding of my own Enneagram number and my husband's. And we learned strategies to help with conflict And you emphasize the qualities of each Enneagram number. Like I'm an 8, I have strength, and the 9 provides peace. And those work together to improve communication and create a great marriage. And we also learn to focus on positive qualities, not negative behaviors, which also trying to be positive helps to refocus things so that you have a great marriage.
Mm, love
And I love the connection practice. At the end of each session, you would have us sit and face each other while holding hands and then looking into each other's eyes, and that allowed us to connect and be grounded.
that.
We each stated what we appreciated about the other, and appreciating each other helped me to feel closer to my wife. And then you emphasize that my wife brings strength and that I bring peace to our relationship.
Mm, thank you guys. That's beautiful that you really picked up on that, that you learned these amazing qualities that each of you brings versus, like you said, not just harping on negatives all the time, which can be our tendency. And tell us one more thing. Um, what did you really learn in particular that stuck most with you through the intensive?
Probably focusing on positive qualities of um, my spouse. And I learned to understand myself. And once I understood myself, I could then start to understand my husband. And I've really tried to focus on being positive
Mm,
and try to see things from his perspective because it's going to be different than mine, which led to better understanding, which helps you work through conflicts and other issues.
mm, so good.
And then, as an Enneagram 9 and a body type, I learned that I need to exercise and journal and pray every day because this helps me to determine what's going on in my body, my heart, and my mind. And when I start my day with those three activities, then I can focus more positively on my marriage and my relationship with my wife.
That's wonderful. I love that you guys came away with these beautiful cues for ongoing success. And thank you guys so much for sharing this with others.
You're welcome.
You're very
We're
welcome.
we were glad. We'd highly recommend doing the marriage intensive.
Thank
And
you.
I love the way that you tailor it to each Enneagram couples types. That
Thank
was key.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Yes, I agree. That is key. I'm so grateful to Ken and Kathleen for that time. I am so grateful for their awesome way of saying they want to share about this. And I have this limited time offer for you. So, joining the Enneagram Relationship Intensive and getting to do it live with me, I hope will be what changes your marriage if you're in a state of needing extra support. I am here for you right now. But again, I am one person. So, it's a limited time offer. I will be starting my certification for coaches again next year. We just had 3 coaches walk through that and finish and get their certification this summer. It was so fun, but we're moving ahead, guys. So please know that I am pausing, and it's in the show notes if you want to join me for this. The other piece that we're really here for today is, of course, your weekend restoration rhythms. So I want you to consider that although we're looking at your 5 to 9 with care, this weekend is also an important part of you getting a chance to spread your wings in healthy ways, collectively, individually, and especially to allow your brain some time to just settle into that default mode that we actually are studying. I'm not, but many brain researchers are scientifically. It's called the default mode network, or DMN. And it's a place that your brain is not quite as taxed. It's just a deep rest state. And we'll talk more about deep rest soon. But in other words, you need that so much for your nervous system to settle. And a lot of times in the 5 to 9, if you're pretty busy, you're doing some of that, but you're not getting the full time because you don't have these 24-hour glorious periods of time for you to play around with. And some of you, by the way, I get only have one 24-hour time. I was just talking to somebody like that, and it's beautiful. They were like, my husband works 2 full-time jobs and he has one day off. So he has to make it stretch on just one day. And for me, I'm so busy with my family that I think of my weekend rhythms as they do stretch farther. I do get to work with 2 or 3 days, but most of the time it's just a 24-hour period within that. That's a true rest or Sabbath for me. So I will usually like have some overlap of clients that need me, or I'll be serving at church, or something will be part of that. And it's got to be acknowledged with you too of just can I, and I think this is good if you try for this, can I get at least a 24-hour period during the weekend where I can really allow myself to settle back into that default mode network, so that I can just let my brain just be for a little bit so I can have some deep rest. And I really want you to try for this. So think about your weekend coming up. I know I'm looking at, there was going to be this really good, restful seminar I was going to go to at our church. And then my daughter reminded me that it's the college weekend that weekend. And I was like, oh, yeah, I got it. Like, yep. And she was going to sign up. My other daughter did it by herself, but my 9 wanted me to go with her. And I was like, I'm so honored that you want me to go with you. Yes, let's go. This is 9 to 4 on Saturday. Like, so I had to rethink, where's my Sabbath going to go? Where's my rest going to go? And I was also joyful that I could be with her. But sometimes you have to look ahead and say, where am I going to get it? And what do I need to set boundaries around so that I can get that? And then you can come back to your week with the replenishment that you need. And this can go all the way down to that mitochondrial cell level of needing replenishment and sleep and rest and exercise and healthy hormones. But we hear about this a lot. And today we're going to talk about what you're actually going to do versus just the science. So I'm very happy you joined me for this. So, of course, like I said, it's going to be different per person, but here's some general that I want you to look at with me. So for this, within the 24 hours or 48 hours that you get, you need a big chunk of time where you take some time away from certain types of technology. For some of you, it's going to be no more tech during this time of the weekend pause that I'm taking. My brain really needs a true reset. For others of you, it's going to be that you have certain places on technology that you don't go to, that you just know, gosh, Instagram gets me, and then I get into envy. Not going to be there. For me, I usually turn off Instagram. Don't turn it off. I just don't go to it from about Saturday to Sunday because it is work for me. And I love Instagram, but it is work for me. So I'm able to say, like, I'll be back and I'll take pictures sometimes during that time and then share them Sunday night or Monday when I come back to say, this is what we did for Weekend Rhythms. And that's exactly what I did this week. I showed the picture of me getting an alligator put on my head, which was crazy. This Florida man came up to me and did that. I was able to show, just some pictures of my family and I having good times together. Wes and I had a date. Like, just these are the rhythms I had going jogging in this hot weather, just short jogs, like with the girls. It was like, these are special moments. Jack teaching the family how to play piano was just a little bit before that. And it was so much fun to look back, but I wasn't there on the tech for those moments. It was like a quick phone picture and then not going to be sharing it with others on social media until I'm replenished. And that might be what some of you do too, who are a little more locked into technology like I am, but still needing your breaks. Whereas others of you will be like, I don't even do that. I like go to my garden and I just completely tune out for 24 hours. I love it. Okay. So work boundaries too, right? Work boundaries need to be part of this as well. So this is a time when maybe you have prepped work emails. Hopefully you're not doing side hustles for this chunk of time that you've decided on. And guys, if you're like, I only have 4 hours, 8 hours, take what you have. Do not guilt yourself, but try to find this weekend time to really let go, because it really does take time. And some of you, like type ones, will tell me sometimes it takes a little more time to transition away. So I noticed that Wes needs a little bit of a longer time, for instance, to get into it even. So allow yourself to find the rhythm that works for you as far as work boundaries. And then allow yourself to come into some weekend fitness that restores you. Instead of intense workouts, think restorative movements, especially if you've been doing intensity through the week. So this might be where you decide you're going to go to the Whole Foods and get back on your workout drink that you always love to take, but it has to be made with fresh ginger root that you love to get at that store that's not easily accessible. That was just an example, but not easily accessible on your weekday. Or you take time on your walk in nature where you actually get to enjoy your surroundings. I had a fun walk in nature this morning before, even though it's a weekday when I'm recording this, I really did that for just 5 minutes or so. And I was like, I took a walk for like half hour, but I took a moment to just look at this type of flower here. I was trying to find it on my phone. It was called the Scarlet Powder Puff. And it was so pretty. And just to be able to have more time on a weekend to do that, if you're on my YouTube, I'm showing the picture. It's so cute. But it's really a beautiful thing to come into rhythms of wanting to do that. I also saw this huge spider and I took a picture, but I didn't want to get quite close enough to actually like get the species. I wanted to get close enough, but it was so big, you guys. The web was, oh my gosh, it was half the size of a tennis court, and I'm like, okay, the web, no, not the court. I'm sorry, the tennis net. It was like enormous across this tree, and there's a pretty big spider in the center of it. You're probably like, what is this, arachnophobia? But either way, it's just fun. Not that part, but most of that walk is fun to get some restorative time. And honestly, if it was a weekend, I could have gotten lost in it. I could have said, this is an hour. Now, sometimes a type 7, for instance, could do that for 4 hours. And I've worked with many couples where the partner's like, where is my type 7? They're in nature for too many hours doing their marathon runs, whatever, type 8s as well. You guys are going to have to negotiate that. For me, it's not going to be 4 hours. The part of me that's female that wants to nurture my family is always at war with that part of me that wants to go off for hours. So it's short, like an hour or less. But like I said, I'm not going to be running back for a client like I was this time. So it's important that you allow yourself to know, like, okay, I'm going to need 5 minutes to transition to get with a client. It's not going to be like that. It's like you are on your weekend. And even if you guys are just saying, first, I'm going to do my walk, then we're going to have some time where I go and take some pictures at, our daughter's favorite place to go at her playground, whatever it is, like it's slower. There's not this sense of a rush. Like I said, my weekday feels a little more pointed for good reason, because sometimes we need to make appointments exact times. Now, also, sometimes I really notice that most of us on our weekday just don't have the same time to make a good meal. Like I was able to finish up a bit of sourdough this week. But when I really was able to make the sourdough, do the folds, do everything was on a Sunday. Another time this weekend, I was able to make a good meal that took a little longer. And this week, instead of that, I was like, okay, vegetable soup in the crock pot. Yesterday, it was a good meal, but we purchased some sourdough to go with it. It was like, this is not going to be one of those weekend moments where I can really dive into every little piece. And it's like, even then I was like, oh my gosh, it took me 15 minutes to cut everything up. Like that's a lot for a weekday, but weekend, you can really spread it out and be like, I want to go get some coriander. I want to make sure that I have some marjoram, whatever it is. Like you can have fun with your recipes. Or if you're not a cook, then you can't, or a chef. Some of my clients have like, chef is a distinction, but you can make sure that you take some time to really allow yourself these rhythms of just coming into slow food in other ways, where you go to that restaurant and you just stay for a while. And when we were in Europe, of course, I noticed that there was a lot more of that too. Now, another thing some of us like to do, myself included, is music is very important to us. I haven't done a lyrics piece yet this last few weekends, but sometimes I will even sink into like, ooh, I want to memorize some lyrics. But usually even just playing music that I love, it just feels different on the weekend. And I know a lot of you are like that. You're like, I'm going to turn my jazz up on Saturday or go to the jazz piano bar on Saturday night, whatever it is, bringing music in, even just to your car. For me, Friday and Saturday nights, listening to music in the car even has a beautiful effect. So don't forget that. Maybe for your sexual intimacy, you have it more scheduled on the weekend, and now you're adding music in and allowing for slower rhythms in that area as well, which I highly recommend, so you're not as rushed. I have had many couples over the years that have said, oh, Sunday afternoon is their special time. Whatever it is, allowing yourself some rhythms of music, of taking your time with the five senses, of allowing your body the reset it needs, allowing your sleep to be a little more pointed, where you're like, I get to catch up a little. And yes, you might read all the science of you can't catch up because they don't want you to miss your weekday sleep. That's the point of those studies. But what they're not saying is don't get good weekend sleep. That's still on the table that I want you to do. But you might even have a time to do something really special. Like I was thinking this weekend, I might go to Selby Gardens where I allow myself some time to go to my favorite botanical garden again. And it really depends on you and what you're up to, but just giving yourself permission to delve into these spaces is so key. And the spiritual and mental dimension are so beautiful as well. You heard me talking about sourdough, and that's something you might have heard me mention recently is that Melody and I have been gifting that to people that are in our neighborhood who just need a little bit of extra TLC. And that's been a place where we can give a bit more on the weekend because, again, we can make it, we can take it over, we could even potentially visit and spend time. Whereas in the weekday, if I'm doing that, I'm like, hey, girls, can you run this down for me? We can't do as many. So it's not that we're doing tons of work. It's just the slow rhythms that we can't get to of like a leisurely visit with a friend or taking time to really be watching our favorite show while we're adding those folds. And it's those good things that are not just for yourself, but even for your neighbor that can come of a weekend. My kids did a big cupcake wars this weekend, and immediately Wes and Jack drove it to friends. And I'm a bit more introverted. So I was like, yes, have some cupcakes. Like I will wrap them up for you and package them, but I definitely want to just stay here before the big week comes. And so it really depends on you being extroverted, introverted in certain moments. I'm kind of right there in the middle. And then I would also remind you that for me, the time at church and in a community of people trying to do good may be hard to get to sometimes. It is internally sometimes, but I love it. I love community worship. I love it even more now that Melody is singing on the worship team certain weeks, but it's different in that way that that is a special place where my whole family gets to think about being a part of creation and to spend time being grateful for that and taking time to worship our creator and learn good things around people who also want to do good things. That's a good part of the weekend, even if sometimes it takes me to take a few deep breaths to slow down and to get there. So I think that's important, and it's got to be considered. Where's my spiritual replenishment? Where's my time to soak into my values and to realize I'm doing things according to my values or I'm not? For you, it might be that you're like, I am not in a place to go to church, and you need some time to just spiritually be trekking through the woods and meeting with God. It may be that you are in your journal writing out a bunch of notes and allowing some connection with God there. But don't forget to check in with yourself and with your creator over the weekend, because it's such a special time when I know your weekday, like mine, it's going to be different. Of course, I do that first thing in the morning, but sometimes it's shorter and it's, like I said, more time. Okay, the kids are up earlier than I expected, etc. I've got to get somewhere. So this is a time where you could literally say, I'm going to Barnes and Noble, I'm opening my journal, or I'm headed to church, or I'm headed to the Adoration Chapel at my church, whatever it is. Make sure you take some special time spiritually. And again, this might be, if you have like me, a little bit longer for that Sabbath, that you not just take your window for yourself, but also spread it out to loving others. Now, I would want to recommend as we get ready to close today that your Sabbath not just be where you're helping others. So, like, let's just say, for example, let's say I'm busy all week and it's one of those 6-day weeks. I'm so busy. And then my one day is here and I wake up early and I bake sourdough all day for people. And then I'm delivering all night. That is not a restful Sabbath because you're just doing things for others the whole time. Now, if you were like, I love making it, take it slower. Maybe deliver to one person, get a good visit in where it's actually replenishing versus like, oh my gosh, I'm on this, time crunch because I told 6 sick people I would help them this week. That's for the other 6 days of the week. Allow yourself on this day to be fed, to be nourished, to be even inspired on what healthy giving could I do, and to let God be God also. That's a good lesson for Enneagram 2s, especially. I think a lot of us would not tend toward that, but 2s would be like, how many people can I serve on my Sabbath? So just allowing yourself to come into those replenishing rhythms for you two, even you twos, is so key. So I hope that you're getting the sense that you need a weekend, at least a 24-hour reset that really centers around your spiritual, physical, emotional self-care, that centers around on re-looking at values and seeing what small ways you could serve perhaps, but leaving the bigger pieces of serving for your larger week, allowing yourself to say with gratitude, what good did I do this week? And what good do I want to do for the next week? These are all part of it all. And before you leave, I want to remind you not to miss what I said about your sexual time together as a couple, allowing for some more restful rhythms there, and hopefully having your date night too, because this is where that 6 to 10 hours a week really comes in so that you are replenished. And if your spouse and you don't do everything together, that's okay. You don't have to do it all together. You can say some of our weekend replenishment will be together and some will be apart. But what I would hate to see is for it all to be apart. And I do see that with really busy couples, like 7s and 8s together, for instance. So make sure that you get some time together. And I just talked to a 7-8 couple that said they do. And I was so happy for them because they're like, we have a weekend every single week. We have a date night, even if it's just at home by ourselves. So glad you joined me for today. Now, before you leave, just allow yourself to think about what you're going to do this weekend ahead to restore. And this whole semester, what's something you're going to really be intentional about? Now, allow yourself to make room for different rest styles as a family, as a couple. Think about that for a moment. And then allow for some intentional time. So before you leave, write this down. Allow it to be, even if it's in your notes of your phone or on your computer, if you're watching on YouTube, where are you going to get this? How are you going to account for these different times and ways you're going to each rest? And how are you going to also plan for some intentional couples time in this? And hopefully some family time too. Okay, awesome. And before you leave, just prep yourself for it one more time. How are you going to do it? Are you going to grocery shop a little early? Are you going to handle necessary chores? Are you going to plan special activities in advance? Are you going to set boundaries around work communication? What are you going to do to make it happen? And now ask yourself, do we also need the Enneagram Relationship Intensive? I don't want you to forget about that. I'm so grateful to Ken and Kathleen for sharing about that. And you can find it in the show notes. You can get started this fall. I would love to have you. And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.